My father was a schoolmaster in Derbyshire, where I received an excellent education. I travelled a great deal after I left school. I was an actor for a time, and then became a reporter for an evening paper in London. One day, I was asked to write a series of pieces about begging in London. It was then that all my adventures started. I decided that the best way of collecting facts would be to become a beggar myself, just for one day. When I was an actor, I had, of course, learned all the skills of makeup, and I now made good use of them. I painted my face and gave my upper lip an ugly twist so that people would pity me. Red hair and old clothes were the only other things necessary. I then placed myself in one of the busiest streets in London. I pretended to be a match seller, but I was really a beggar. I stayed there for 7 hours. At home that evening, I was surprised to find that I had received more than £1. I wrote my pieces and thought no more of the matter for some time. Then I signed my name on a paper for a friend who wanted to borrow some money. He was unable to pay his debt, and so I found that I owed £25. I did not know what to do. Suddenly, I had an idea. I asked for 2 weeks' holiday and spent the time begging in Threadneedle Street. In 10 days, I had the money and had paid the debt. Well, you can imagine how difficult it was to settle down to hard work on the newspaper at £2 a week, when I knew that I could earn as much as that in a single day. I only had to paint my face, put my cap on the ground, and sit still. Of course, it hurt my pride to do it, but in the end I gave up my post and sat day after day in the corner I had first chosen. My ugly face made everybody pity me, and my pockets quickly filled with money. Only one man knew my secret. This was the owner of the Bar of Gold in Upper Swandham Street, an Indian sailor. It was there that I changed myself into an ugly beggar each morning, and there that I became a well-dressed businessman again in the evenings. I paid the man well for his rooms, so I knew that my secret was safe with him. Well, very soon I realized that I was saving money fast. I do not mean that any beggar in the streets of London could earn £700 or £800 a year, but I had unusual advantages. My knowledge of makeup helped me a great deal, and my jokes quickly made me almost a public figure. All day and every day, the money poured into my cap. I usually received at least £2 in a day. I was almost a rich man. I was able to take a large house in the country, and later to marry. Nobody had any idea where my money really came from. My dear wife knew that I had a business in London. That was all. Last Monday, I had finished for the day and was dressing in my room in Upper Swandham Street when I saw my wife outside. She was looking up at me. This was a great shock to me, and I gave a cry of surprise and threw up my arms to cover my face. I rushed downstairs and begged the owner of the place to prevent anyone from coming up to me. Then I ran upstairs again, took off my clothes, and put on those of Hugh Boone. I heard my wife's voice downstairs, but I knew that she would not be able to come up. I put on my makeup and my false hair as fast as I could. Just then, I realized that the police might search my rooms. I did not want my own clothes to be found. I filled the coat pockets with coins and opened the window. I had cut my finger at home that morning, and the cut opened again. I threw the heavy coat out of the window and saw it disappear into the river. I would have thrown the other clothes out too, but just then I heard the policeman rushing up the stairs. A few minutes later, I was seized as my own murderer, but I was happy that nobody realized who I was. I was determined not to be recognized, and so I refused to wash my face. I knew that my wife would be very anxious about me, and I therefore slipped off my ring and found an opportunity to give it to the owner of the bar of gold, together with a short letter to her.
Mrs. St. Clair did not get that note until yesterday,
said Holmes. Good heavens, what a terrible week she must have had.
The police have been watching the Indian,
said Bradstreet,
and he must have had great difficulty in posting the letter without being seen. He probably handed it to one of the sailors who come to the Bar of Gold to smoke opium. The man may have forgotten to post it until yesterday.
I think you are right, said Holmes.
Mr. St. Clair, have you never been charged with begging in the streets?
Oh, yes. I have often been to court. But I could easily afford the money I had to pay.
Your life as a beggar must stop now,
said Bradstreet.
If Hugh Boone appears once more in the streets of London, we shall not be able to prevent the newspaper reporters from writing about the case.
I swear never to beg again, said St. Clair.
In that case, you will hear no more of the matter,
said Bradstreet.
But if you are ever found begging again, everything will have to be made public. Mr. Holmes, we are very grateful to you for your successful handling of the case. I wish I knew how you got your results. I found the explanation of this affair by sitting in a comfortable armchair and smoking my pipe all night, answered my friend. I think, Watson, that if we drive to Baker Street now, we shall be just in time for breakfast.